Ladies and gentlemen, here we are to Sprocket, where we make churches, houses, hot tubs, cars, and now hovercraft. Yes, folks, it's no longer a tank game. Now we have naval ships, or at least more naval ships. I've already covered a naval ship in one of my community steel videos. This is the HVC from HVC Maverick? Whatever. From, you guessed it, folks, it's from German Train. Who else could a vehicle like this be from? And it weighs in at 38.57 tons. It is actually unarmed, and it is a late war vehicle. And it's actually kind of slow, but it's kind of fun, actually. Now, he does have a lot of custom decals to add coloration, such as the lower part is actually black, and he's got different types of logos in that for it, but I didn't download the custom logos. I just downloaded the core vehicle so I could show off the core vehicle. So there is some oddballness here to it, but when you actually download the decals that goes with the vehicle, because I saw some of the images that he took, this thing actually fully legit looks like a hovercraft. Who else, anybody, who else in Sprocket could have made a hovercraft but German Train? What a way to kick off another community steel. And the next vehicle we have here is the T22 Heavy Tank from Icy Steam. I'm pretty sure I featured him before, but that was quite a long time ago. And this weighs in at 65.21 tons. It's got a 105mm main gun with 219mm of penetration. And the mobility and armor is actually very good on this vehicle. It is a late war vehicle. Now, he did admit to me that he edited the text document so he could get a faster reload. And it practically makes this thing overpowered, to be honest. You know, I got 40mm guns that shoots as fast as this does. Not 105mm main guns. As you can see there, it is just bouncing shots like a champ. Although the Matilda 2, you know, 40mm pop gun, not really going to do much to this vehicle. I'm going to let the footage play so you can actually get a good look at it. It's got a round turret here, sort of round turret. Sorry, it's not a round turret. That's the stowage box. Sorry, it's kind of more like an Abrams turret, where it's got the sloped front of the turret. There we go, M26 Pershing. And not even the Persian stood a chance against this thing. Although that first shot was kind of shite. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, there you go. You get a really good look here at this Type 22 T22 Heavy. And you can actually get a really good look at the mobility now of the vehicle as well. The next vehicle I have here is from Substep. And this is his FMU KR130 Substep. You make some great vehicles, man, but good lord, can we ever get those names worked on? And this is his 24.67 ton anti-tank vehicle. It's got a 107mm main gun. It's got really good penetration, at least when I could hit something with it. Of course, it's mostly me, not the vehicle. And this is for the late war period. It's got a very thick front, and it's actually got rather good gun depression, which helps by having it as an open-topped vehicle. And the reload's actually not bad for being a 107mm main gun either. I'll let the footage play out so you can I actually get a good look at this thing, or show off this thing in good detail. Of course, I get jumped here by a Comet, or sorry, a Cromwell. But luckily I lived. I'm going to let the main gun load a little bit, and then I'm going to move and try and get a look around to see if anybody is going to ambush me. And of course, he's also got the very good Soviet log there. So the one thing I'll give is German Train builds some really, really odd, awesome stuff. Substep here just builds really good stuff that actually seems like it should have been real and actually functional. That's the thing about it. We're talking like high quality functionality in his vehicles. They all seem to do what he proposes they should do. Of course, I derped a shot there in the dirt because I really don't want to stick out the turret, because this thing can actually get pinned rather easy, at least through the gun shield area. Not so much through the hull. I believe he said it's got a 200mm upper glacis plate. And then, of course, it's very sharply sloped. So its effective armor is really awesome. And we got another vehicle here today, actually, from Substep. This is his LAT L11X 23M. Oh my god, it took me forever to say that. I'm not even sure if I don't think I actually really got all that right. Sorry, it's not an 11. It's an M, folks. Sorry, my pen is shit. And this is his 40-ton armor personnel carrier. And it's armed with a 23mm main gun with 106mm of penetration. It is actually meant for the late war period. And I really actually like the turret on this because this looks like one of those robotic turrets that everybody's going all crazy about nowadays to put on their vehicles. And this thing's got a faster rate of fire than my Panzer Lynx. Or, Panzer Lukes. It's crazy. The mobility's not the best, but it still does actually pretty good mobility-wise. And once again, utilizing the Lorraine T road wheels. And actually, it does bounce shots. I was really surprised. I just kind of rushed in there to see, like, how the armor would hold up to abuse. It actually held up pretty freaking well. I was quite surprised by that. Oop, I had a shot there fly over right over the remote turret. Just going to let this roll out a little bit so you can see more of it. It's got two roof hatches there. It's got a rear door hatch for infantry to get in and out of. As well as it looks like it's got two machine gun ports on the rear, as well as the roof hatch can be opened and operated by a machine gunner back there. There's a 50 cal machine gun on the turret, and I like how he did the turret to look like it's got two-pack ATGM launchers. So something like a Cornet or something like that. Seems very reminiscent to like a more or less a Terminator type turret. As you can see here, I am just having a field day blasting away armor-piercing ammo with this autocannon. So much fun. The next vehicle I have here is from Vladislav, and this is his version of the M103. This is actually the second time I'm featuring an M103, and I think both M103s were great, but Vladislav really did an awesome job on his M103. This weighs in at 58 tons. It's got a 120mm main gun with 237mm of penetration. The mobility is actually rather good for being a heavy tank, which, you know, that's actually one thing about the M103 is actually the mobility really wasn't bad for how heavy the vehicle was and its time frame. Still slower than a medium tank. But it's mobile, and it's got good frontal armor. I mean, the turret and the hull will both bounce shots. The sides, unfortunately, not so much, especially on the turret itself. The sides of the turret, a lot of the stuff that I have loaded in my game right now will penetrate the side of the turret on this thing, based on how they're facing to the turret, how the turret's facing them, etc. But as you can see here, the gun is rather accurate. Unfortunately, at one point, I actually get tracked here. And I still managed to shoot away at the enemy. Oh, there it goes. I'm gonna track. Well, now you gave away your position, and here we go. The money shot. Come on, load it up. Money shot. Nope, I missed. Because I'm holding shit. And of course, I'm also fighting with the fact that the tank wants to go one way, and I want it to just sit put. I really wish we could get brakes on these vehicles already. Although brakes would just add more weight to the vehicle, so... But there we go. There's the victory. Yay me. I win. But I'm tracked. Alright, here we are. We got the SC-45M from T-Rex 2040. And this is his World War I tank truck, I guess. tank armored car. It weighs in at 4.53 tons. It's got a 56 millimeter main gun with only 35 millimeters of penetration. For World War I, that's for the most part actually rather good. There's not a reason to have a ridiculous amount of penetration for the World War I time period. Now this thing also, I've had some weird instances where this thing broke the bridges even though it shouldn't. I think that's more of a game defect than anything else. But for the most part, more often than not, this thing has no problem crossing the bridges when you roll up to them. That being said, you are dependent crossing the trenches with the walkway bridges. I actually tried what I called a field expedient when I was talking to them, and I removed that stowage box in the rear and put on the sled and extended the length of the sled. And while it did work, it only worked about half the time that I would be able to cross the trenches without any issues. So it's kind of one of those things, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Either ways, this thing actually does have some really good performance, especially engineering-wise and even cannon-wise. I mean, it's got some good speed. It actually crosses the terrain with relative ease. That's one thing I've noticed that a lot of the World War I tanks can't do. And more often than not, when I go testing out World War I tanks, I get them stuck. This thing here, I definitely have to cross some really, really rough stuff to get it stuck. That being said, it's also not a thick boy either. The armor is actually rather light, but it does bounce shots from time to time. So it does a good job on that end. That being said, once again, World War I, most vehicles doesn't have a lot of penetration to them, and even a little bit of sloping can go a long way. Now obviously right there I ate a shot right through the engine, which is unfortunate because it did more damage to the engine, but it's still ticking like a Timex Rolex watch. So, and now it's dead. Oh well. Alright, the next vehicle I have here is from Swift Hawk. And this is his E12A1E Grizzly. It is actually a 26.54 ton IFV, infantry fighting vehicle. And it's armed with a 40 millimeter machine gun. This thing's got a ridiculous rate of fire to it. You'll see here in a moment. It is a late war vehicle. It's actually, the armor is really effective. Not extremely thick, but it's thick enough and it's effective. It is kind of more along the lines of, like, say, a Puma or the... I don't want to say Bradley because, well, the Puma doesn't have tow missiles, does it? Now, look at this. Just unloading chaos on that ISU 152. Yeah, I'm not penning it, but that's actually a pretty decent range. And that's a pretty thick armored vehicle. And that vehicle decided to backpedal like, well, I've had enough of this shit. I'm out of here. So it does pretty good on that realm. I do like how it's got the tow launcher on the side. It'll be interesting if we ever can come up with a way to actually utilize stuff like that, because that would have been a moment to just let a tow missile fly, honestly, into that enemy ISU 152. Now, unfortunately, on the side, the armor's really thin, and the ISU 152 does a really good job of busting through the side. Oh, sorry, they're not ISU 152s. They're ISU 122s. But still, this thing's got some ridiculous mobility, and it's got a ridiculous rate of fire. It's actually got a better rate of fire than even Substep's APC. But still, both really cool vehicles. Very modernized vehicles. Let's see if we... Oh, there we go. Let them have it. Yeah. That rapid fire boy. And you can actually see other Grizzlies just rapid firing at vehicles left and right. It's just ridiculous. All the shots that are flying in from all kinds of different directions. But anyway, folks, I'm going to do some shameless plug-in here. Please, if you enjoyed the video, like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share the videos, the whole 9 yards. Stuff of that nature. Ooh, and I ran into the border. because I'm old and shit. Although, you know what? I bet you a lot of people run into the border, especially when they're trying to use their mobility and flank around enemy vehicles. Because with these faster vehicles, you never see the border till it's too late. So that's something that I think needs to actually be worked on. I wouldn't say actively worked on, but maybe put an actual white line there, or a black line, or a checkered line. Probably a checkered line would be better. And then have the border there for the map itself. Because these fast vehicles, you just never see it till you hit them. But anyway, folks, that's actually going to wrap up today's Community Steal with the Grizzly. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video and have yourself a wonderful day.